Hey everyone, it's your favorite team dynamic duo, co-host extraordinaire, Karmea
Wells, unorthodox Southern Belle.
and we are here to talk about espionage, spydom, AI, and all of the above. We're going to dive deep on this episode, and we have an incredible man here. He's known, his mantra, his saying right now, he's being called all over the world, the retired spy. And he has guest starring, he's making an appearance here today on Gentleman Style Podcast show to give us some insight and some wisdom and share what it's like and how we can relate what he's learned and his professional expertise and relate it to our everyday lives. You guys won't want to miss 1 second of this man. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Here we go. Hey, everybody, it's your favorite dynamic duo. Hey, everybody, this is your favorite dynamic duo, Gentleman Style Podcast. I'm Marcus.
And I am Karmea Wells, the unorthodox Southern Belle.
And today we have an incredible guest. He is known as the retired spy. You already know him as JJ, the retired spy. However, with the Canadian Armed Forces Intelligence Branch, he was better known as Sergeant Gene J. Brun, Operative 431. And he is here to give us some insight, some wisdom, and share his experience and making sense out of the people puzzle that how times have changed over the year, what it was like being a spy, and share how this can be, these qualities, these traits can help us in business. So without further ado, I can't help hold this man back. Karmea, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Introducing, help me welcome to the stage, the incredible Mr. J.J. Brun. Sir, how are you? Welcome to Gentleman Style Podcast show.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you for being here. This is special. This interview, this conversation is really special to me because I secretly am a what you call it, myth buster. And so, I'm like, I want to know the sauce. I'm not, tinfoil helmet all the way. But you, sir, making an appearance today gets to really dive deep with the inner kid that I am today. And so thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for making time.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, sir. I wanna start off small. Sir, you were a spy. And so I know I have the movie version. We all have the movie version of what a spy is. But what does it mean to be a spy? Why do you go by the moniker the retired spy?
I never wanted to be the retired spy. Your brand is what people say it is. So when I served 20 years in the military, and the last 15 was within the intelligence branch, in the last 10 years working within the intelligence branch, I specialized in the field of human intelligence. So my claim to fame when I was still serving is I was the first one selected for the role of a contact handler since the Second World War. So back then, Bosnia was the hostile environment. So a contact handler is a person where he or she is sent into a hostile environment, where he or she has to cultivate sources within that environment, determines people's intentions, and modify their behaviors if and when required without the use of any Jedi mind tricks. It's really how to build relationships across cultures by design and not by chance. So I excelled at that time. I did not know that I had the skill sets. It's more of I was volunteered to become a contact handler. I was sent to spy school in the UK to learn all the skills, all the craft, the mechanics, if you wish, of the job. And then I was working within a multinational organization. So the safe house, we had anywhere from 5 to 7 different nationalities, English being the working language. I speak 3 languages. French is my mother tongue. So my full name is Jean-Jacques Joseph Brun. So roughly translated, John Brown. But they couldn't pronounce my name when I was working overseas. They couldn't say Jean-Jacques, but they could say, "Hey, Jean-Jacques." And then I got branded JJ. There's a colleague in the office that came in one day in the operational room, the ops room, and they needed something on my desk. So this British colleague said, "Hi, JJ," and I'm like, Jean-Jacques JJ. I connected the dots. I was like, "Oh well, I'm the only one." So I got branded JJ, and I turned around, and I provided what they wanted. So if you don't brand yourself, somebody else will. And I got branded JJ as a working name, which is fine. It's everyone has a little nickname or has a working name when you within a team. So I became JJ. So it's just an easy way for us to remember people. You want to make yourself memorable. You want to be very easy to remember, and JJ became a working name. But just when I retired from the military, as in I did 20 years, I have 2 operational tours, 5 years in the combat arms, like 15, like I said before, in the intelligence. But the last 10, I specialize in the field of human intelligence. So you do get some very unique skill sets, training, prisoner handling and tactical questioning, the John Reed interview and interrogation techniques, contact handler. There's just so many of these courses that you get. You do develop a lot of the interpersonal skill sets. So when I transited out, when I retired and set up my own training company, DHC Training Solutions, the DHC stands for Decoding Human Capital, looking at everyone as having a human capital waiting to be discovered. So it's more on the positive side of things, all your interpersonal skill sets. And at networking events, people would say, who's the guy you were talking to? Oh, that's JJ. He used to be a spy. So it became a brand that I couldn't get away from. I'm an interpersonal skills expert, but then your brand is what people say it is. So I became JJ, the retired spy. My number is 431, right? As in all the double zeros were taken. I'm the 401st member to graduate the intelligence school. Back then it was I'm a trained intelligence operator, an INTOP. And then I became a staff officer within the intelligence branch. So I saw both the blue collar and the white collar in regards to that field. So never wanted to be. I was always fascinated with the whole James Bond series. It's always captivating. But guess what? Never had the fancy car. Never could fly a parachute with a tuxedo. Wasn't really good at playing poker. Never got the million.
Never got the lady. Never got the
gadgets,
lady.
Right? The gadgets. It's like it's cool. Now, do they exist? Absolutely. You see, but I come from the military intelligence, so I had a small window of opportunity of working within the intelligence community. But you have members in the CIA that have a career. They have 20 or 30 years as operative within that lane. So different levels of intensity. But I got branded in Canada because being maybe the first one. And then I'm in the speaking industry. So I've learned how to monetize your message. And from there, there's a stickiness to it, as in, the retired spy. So it's a brand that I couldn't get away from. So I just accepted it and made it so that it's more professional in regards to decoding human capital. I think is very positive. And it's a skill set that you can use in business. Whether you will often find yourself at a disadvantage in business or in your personal life if you don't have a model of reference to be able to read people. Your ability to read people will make a difference because people don't do things to you. They do things for themselves. And if you can decode their preferred communication style, they'll say yes to you more often because you'll learn to say the same thing in a different way according to how they are wired. Right? It's all about making sense of the people puzzle.
Very true. Very true.
For me, I've just designed a little system. I train trainers. I train people on how to go about and discerning one's preferred communication style. 2 simple questions. And if people want more, I have some free resources on our website. That's all. That's fine. But it doesn't have to be complicated. Everybody wants to talk all the time. You just need to find their hot button, find a common link, find a common connection. I'm not a believer of an instant rapport. Rapport is the highest state of relatability. So as a contact handler, that was your job. Your job was to establish and maintain rapport with targets or contacts. And then from there to maintain and then to leverage this. And at the end, I had over 100 eyeballs working for me. They didn't know they were working for me, but they were just providing a lot of content, a lot of information of what's happening on the field so that I can advise our commanding officers.
Is that what you call an asset?
Yes, they could be called an asset. First, their targets, contact handling, different agencies will have different names, but a target and that person, if they come on board, right, they can become an asset. They get carded in regards to the quality of the information that they provide. So has the information been validated? So we're always concerned with human sources, and you never like this. I was trained in a British school in regards to contact handling. So they have certain protocols. We would not purchase. We don't pay for money. We don't pay for information because then people will just blah, 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 give you all this and thinking that they're going to get more money. We don't make promises in the sense of, well, if you talk to me, I'll see what I can do to get you a passport. That's not true. I don't have that availability to do this. Now, in my era, because we were just getting into this, like the Canadian military was just getting into the whole human intelligence as a collecting platform. There's many collecting platforms out there. Imagery, so satellites, we've seen this in the movies. Signals intelligence, we can listen to your conversation. You'd be surprised. Acoustic intelligence, you start up a submarine in Russia and whoo, it sends a signal. So there's just a lot of different collecting platform. Mine is human intelligence. So it's more of the human factor. So you need to have boots on the ground. You need to be able to meet with people, interact with them, and build a relationship. Now, how do you go about building a relationship? I have a strong sense of self. I found out I was studying a lot more in regards to the different personalities, the people's preferences, their character, their personas. And it became very, very important. I had the mechanics of how to be a contact handler. My secret ingredient, or what I had extra that all the other operators did not have, is the human factor. There's a high tech and there's a high touch. You need both, but it's the high touch that wins the battle every time. Your ability to connect with people by design and not by chance. There's a human factor to this. And there's power in regards to how you go about building that relationship, whether it's a professional or personal. Before you can have a professional relationship, you have to have a conversation.
True.
Before you can have a conversation, you need to be able to ask good, thought-provoking questions. So it's the power of the question. The questions will lead to a conversation. The conversation will reveal to you all the clues and cues to discern their preferred communication style. And then you apply it so that you can connect with them and build that relationship, whether it's professional or personal. So it's a methodology that's teachable, that's learnable. I wish I had learned this in high school.
What? Really? You wish you had known this in high school? I wanted to be a lot of things in high school, but not yet. Not exactly. Karmea, I think you had a question for the retired spot, but Doctor or JJ, thank you. Yankovic. Karmea, go ahead with your question.
I did have a question. Because you did stated that it wasn't initially something that you wanted. So it was just a case of you just floating into this profession because it was in line with what you was doing at the time, or it was something that you just basically said, okay, well, I don't know where I'm going. Well, since I'm going that way, what was your mindset when you went into this profession?
So I volunteered to go into the intelligence branch. So after 5 years in the infantry, combat arms with the French regiment, the Royal 22e Régiment, it takes you, if you just start from zero, and you work your way to becoming a sergeant in the Canadian military. Back then, it would take you 8 years. 4 years to be a corporal, 2 more years to be a master corporal, and 2 more years you're a sergeant. So I did it in 3 years and 10 months. This was a blessing and a curse at the same time. A blessing is that I was the new soldier that they were looking for. In a French regiment, I was bilingual, 6 feet tall, bigger, strong built, computer literate. I was a new generation, growth mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, because I grew up in that type of environment. So I was a new breed, and they were looking for this type. Now the old guard didn't like me because I didn't do my time. I didn't do my time like they did their time. So it became a point where why fight? So after 5 years, I decided, you know what? I'm going to look for another career path, and I applied, and I got recommended, advanced recommendation. Within 30 days, I got accepted, and I went to the intelligence branch. That's the only thing that really interested me. That once I do my 20 years in the military, 5 in the combat arms, and something else that I can segue in later. And I thought, well, the intelligence branch, maybe after that I can retire from the military or join the law enforcement or start up my own investigative company. Like it made sense to me. But there was things that the intelligence branch, there was 3 things. I thought it was cool. I thought it was sexy and very exclusive if I can be in that area. And it was, as in you get training that not everyone has access to. You have access to information that, wow, you did not, you get a different side of the world, of how the world works. And you see a lot of darkness in regards to the intelligence.
What
And
was one dark thing from the intelligence community that can you
well,
speak about?
you're provided with a lot of information of the atrocities. So I worked at the National Defense Headquarters during the first Gulf War.
Mhm.
So that was interesting in regards to the type of content and what people were doing. Now, fast forward in Bosnia. Well, in Bosnia, you had the Serbs, the Croat, and the Muslims. Well, how many people died underneath the Serbs? How many people died underneath the Croats? How many people died underneath the Muslim? They all committed war crimes. But it's like you have to pick who's the good between the 3 ethnicities. When I was working in a place called Mostar, so if you know where Sarajevo is, you just go south for about 4 hours and you hit a little town or village, Obstina, what they would call it, and it was Mostar. Mostar translated means bridges. So they had the Neretva River, and you had a lot of bridges. So it was occupied by the Serbs, and the Serbs had the equipment, but the Croats and the Muslims couldn't get the Serbs or couldn't fight against, so they joined forces together, and it's like totally different in regards to their culture, but they joined together for the common good of getting rid of the Serbs. And when that happened, then the Croats turned on the Muslims in Mostar, right, and took ownership. And so you see a lot of well, that doesn't make sense. Well, that's not right.
Were a lot
We
of these
have
countries spying on each other? Like they have spy.
absolutely.
Wow.
Oh yes, they all have their agencies. Uh, you need to have boots on the ground. There's 4 levels of awareness in order for you to thrive. There's environmental awareness, there's situational awareness, there's self-awareness to lead you to legacy awareness. So environmental awareness is a moment in time where you discover or experience something new. So when I was sent to spy school, I didn't know anything about being a contact handler. I discovered, experienced something completely new. That's environmental awareness. That we all go through environmental awareness. That's a moment in time where we discover or experience something new. You're then going to move into situational awareness. You're going to go back into your work environment and apply what you've discovered and experienced in environment. So I was sent over in Bosnia. I had all this training, but then there's nothing like being on the ground. There's nothing like being on site and looking around to see what you can and cannot apply. Like you have a speaking event that you want to do. Okay, well, you prepare. That's environmental awareness. You go on site. Then it's like, wait a minute, the room is not set up the way that you want. There's nothing like being on the ground. That's situational awareness. And I would define that as a moment in time where you apply what you discovered and experienced. But you're not going to thrive unless you have self-awareness. This is how you protect yourself from yourself in times of need. Because what happens in situational awareness? Oh, I need more training. You go back to environment. Then you go back to situation. Oh, I need more training. And then you keep on looping and looping and looping and looping. And I call that a TED moment, and temporary enthusiasm disorder. You think by getting more education, you'll get better at this situation. You get more education, but no, you don't have a strong sense of self. That's your interpersonal skills. God wired you a certain way. There's talents inside of you. Your strengths will carry you. Your lowest traits should concern you. So how do you protect yourself from yourself in times of need? Don't try to be the hero in these situations. Just do the best that you can. So what is the next right thing to do? So it's that self-awareness. And it's the key, because if you have strong self-awareness, you'll be able to move to the fourth level, which is legacy awareness, that everything that you've invested in your life outlives your life. Oh my gosh, this is where we want to go. Now, what's the purpose of living? How did you leave your mark? Why were you on earth for? So I've been put into a situation that I'm in over my head. Oh my gosh. The first time I went over to the UK, all I heard is, who wants to go to the UK? I'm in Canada and they're looking for volunteers to go to the UK. Well, I'd like to go to the UK. I've never been to the UK.
Without any details or anything about the mission?
Oh, no. Well, I forgot to hear the part of you're going on a prisoner handling and tactical questioning on an interrogator course. All I heard is, who wants to go to the UK? I'm like, cool. So I'm like, okay, Brun, you're going. Fantastic. Then you get all the see, we don't have cell phones back then. So you get all the paperwork, you get your paper copy of your flight, and you're going to travel from Quebec to Montreal. And Montreal, you're going to go to London. And it's like, wow. And then you arrive there and it's like, wow, everything is reverse. You know, when in regards to driving, as in, you know, we would look at, is there a car coming? We would look on the left side, but the car coming on the right side. Right. And when you leave the airport, there's a little sign on the floor. It says, look to the right. Huh? It's like, oh, and it's a whole new world. And then I took a cab to go to the train station. Now I'm having a Harry Potter moment. Oh my gosh. You're getting on these old trains. You're in your little caboose. You're just looking at the stop, as in, you can barely understand what they're saying in English, as in it's English, but there's about 5 different dialects of English in the UK. Right. And then I'm like, okay, I see the sign. Oh, it matches the paperwork. I have to get out here. I'll get out here. And it's a shack. It's just a shack. And it's like,
what is your most hairiest, memorable moment? Like, what is one mission that was very memorable? Was that it? There. That was the
one. That was the most shocking now, because from there's a cab that showed up, or a car. I didn't understand the gentleman. I just showed him an address because I was going to an undeclared base. It was a barrack. So, and I'm like, okay. And then he dropped me in the middle of an onion field. So there's a manufacturing plant. They just harvest onions, and the smell is like, wow. And then somebody in a uniform with a long rifle came out. I didn't see where he was coming from. And he said, over here, I got challenged. My name was on the list. This is when you want a name on the list. My name was on the list. Perfect. Grab your gear and go up the hill. So as I go up the hill, now I see the camp. And it's like a Hogan's Hero movie. You've got one fence, you got to cross over because that's where the dogs are going to be. Then you got a double fence. So a double fence, you go in, and there's the mothership. As in regards to World War I, World War II, this is where the prisoner handling or the high valued assets were interrogated. As in, if you were captured over during World War I, World War II, and the prisoners were brought back, that's the camp. That's where you were going to go get interrogated.
And that was your specialty? Was that your specialty? Is that why they
That was my first experience. That's my first experience in the field of human intelligence, because I was going to become an interrogator. And I'm like, sweet. It was 7 days. So from Sunday to Sunday. So on Sunday, we go in and it's fenced again inside. We have to go through a fence, right? The first hour, I'm stripped naked, thrown into a cell, and interrogated.
You were interrogated?
It was not in the course. In the course description. There's like, where does it say that I was going to get interrogated? It does, but doesn't it stand to reason? See, the Brits, they train differently. The realism. The more you can make it real, the better you're going to be prepared. Because if you're going to be an interrogator, doesn't it stand to reason that you should at least have experienced what it feels like to be interrogated?
I guess I don't want to. Go ahead, Karmea.
So I'm just because you said it was a 7-day process, but how long did this mission particularly take for this whole training?
The interrogator course took 7 days, Sunday to Sunday. The way that they function, we were going to work for 6 days straight, learning all the skill sets, experiencing all of this. And then on the final day is an exercise where we have to travel to Portsmouth is where we would have the final exercise. There was a group already doing escape and evasion for a week. There was a group training on how to find escapees. And then we are the interrogators. So once they all got captured, then we got a chance to interrogate them. So a lot of the fighter pilots have to go through escape and evasion training, how to survive.
When they're playing crashes.
In the States, how to survive. So you have nothing on you, you have no food, and you're basically on the run in the forest in the elements for a whole week.
But you're supervised, right? You have people watching you, making sure you don't die out there, right?
You've got your umpires or your referees. Yes, you do have your staff.
Oh, okay.
Right? You are going in there, but you have to pass the course because if you don't pass the course, you don't deploy. Everyone has to go through this. Now, the infantry then get sort of trained of how do you find people or try to hide. So you learn all the clues and cues, all the tendencies of what people will use to camouflage themselves. So you've got 3 courses running at the same time. At the end, they all come into us. Then they go in. They all got their bandage. White noise. You can't hear anything. So either it's crying babies that they're hearing 24 hours nonstop, or it's a harsh rock and roll. Like it's just white noise. You just bombard them so that they don't hear. They don't know what time it is, and then you are then tagged to go in and to do, okay, I want you to do a harsh. Okay, I want you to do a friendly. Okay, I want you to do it's all scripted so that you practice the different approaches depending upon what will break them.
What's a harsh?
A harsh is screaming at them for 9 minutes nonstop. As in, when my first experience was a harsh. I'm like, butt naked.
You're naked. You got nothing.
Yelling at me. He's upset. I don't know why. I never met him. I just know he doesn't like me. And then he's reading me. Like that first hour, I didn't know why. But my gosh, he was so close. I knew what I was wearing his breath. I knew what he had for breakfast. And at the end, he says, okay, pick up your clothes, get dressed, go back in the classroom. I wish I never volunteered for this course. I'm like, I'm in over my head here. What the heck how am I going to pass? I have to pass. I'm the only Canadian. I can't fail. I can't be that, like a survivor, like tonight is Survivor. And the worst nightmare for a participant in Survivor is to be the first one voted off the island. Well,
Right.
I'm the first. I mean, I'm the only Canadian. I don't want to be voted off the island. So that pressure that I put on myself, I didn't know by my head and
How
all the
many others
instructors.
were with you? How many other?
Well, we were 16.
16. So you're the
So they
only
were running
Canadian out of
4
16.
cells at the same time. 4 people were interrogated at the same time. Then we all exit. We all look at each other and we look at our feet and we just crawl back into the classroom. And I was student number 3, so we all have our numbers. And then they started debriefing every student and what they were able to capture. And I was flabbergasted.
How much information you didn't give?
Well, no. How much he knew about me without me ever saying anything. He was in my head. He was able to see when he was doing things, how I would flare up, how I would close my fist. He knew my triggers. And he attributed this to something called BSA, Behavioral Symptom Analysis. Oh, and I became a student right there. Tell me more about that. I got fascinated in understanding the tendencies, right? In regards to if you go this is what the tendencies in regards to how people react or respond to certain things. Like he was getting ready for the second interview or interrogation because he knew my triggers. He could see my nostril flaring. He could see my face, like all the micro movement. You cannot not communicate. And when you are trained in looking at, it's called leakage, where all the clues and cues you can actually see, and there's tendencies, and then you know where to pry into, where to press in a little bit more.
So you are figuring, he figured you out based off of your body language?
Oh yeah. Your physiology? Absolutely.
Oh, I definitely believe it. Mm-hmm.
See, we're not wired to lie. We're not wired to lie.
There are good liars out there.
Oh yeah. But we're not we're not. So you can practice, absolutely. But we're not designed for it. And then we have releases. Some people, when they start lying, right, the blood will flow to the extremities, to the head. Some their ears will turn red, just for some reason. They
when they're lying.
Well, they have different releases. And you don't want to make an absolute. You're lying. It's more like you just observed clusters. I asked a question. They crossed their arms. They put their hand over their mouth, and they started stroking their nose. What does that mean? It means that they crossed their arms, they put their hand over their mouth, and they were stroking their nose. You don't want to make absolutes. You're just looking at clusters. But when you touch a hot topic, people do have releases, right? The nose, there's more extremities, as in the blood flows to the nose, the lips gets bigger, and you start looking at what's normal and what's not normal. So you need to have a start point. And it's very important not to make absolutes and not to make first impressions with people. And that's the same thing in business. Because in business, if you make if you call something, he's a this or she's a that, that's an absolute, it's first impression. Well, that's called the principle of conceptual consistency. See, once I make my opinion of you, I will look for everything around to justify my opinion of you and neglect everything else that contradicts my opinion of you.
Because I've already made an assumption.
Yes, that's very dangerous. So when I'm teaching, let's say, how to decode one's preferred communication style, I call it the 2 Ps. There's always 2 Ps, as in there's always a pace perspective and there's always a priority perspective. So the pace perspective, are they more outgoing? Are they more reserved? Are they loud? Are they soft? Big gestures, guarded gestures. You cannot not communicate. The pace perspective is easier to see, easier to read, to know the tendencies. The second is the priority perspective. Is it towards task or towards people?
So this is the relationship between your skill set and how it relates to business.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See, when I was serving in Bosnia, my first case, I was given the gentleman, we branded him as a self-declared mayor of Mostar. He wasn't the real mayor. Well, he wasn't the mayor, actually, but he acted as if he was the mayor. So I was replacing an operative, as in because his time was done. So I inherited this case. Now I have to build a relationship with this guy.
The guy you're relieving, or the new asset?
I'm replacing his current case officer.
Okay. Okay.
right? So he goes out, I come in, I have to build a relationship.
And you have to learn all his ways and everything.
Yeah. So for me, because I'm very task oriented, that I'm just wired that way. Because I've taken on several audits, and I know my style blend. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, or where I struggle, my blind spots. So in all the interpersonal skill sets, those are happen to be my lowest traits. I'm not a natural at it. That's why when I said I wish I had this in high school, because in high school I was more reserved. I wasn't really uh, extrovert, and it wasn't easy for me to carry conversation because if I have a conversation, I'm more of a content speaker, so I have to. I can't just talk for the sake of talking. It has to have something of content or of value. But now I'm going to be evaluated by my ability to build relationships. Ouch. So what I did a little bit more studying. So I had in my repertoire the 10 most effective feel-good ice-breaking questions. I memorized those. If you want a copy, Marcus, right? Carmine, if you want a copy of that, it's on my website. You can download a copy. I put it actually in there so people have it. It's the 10 most effective feel-good ice-breaking questions. The first question is, how did you ever get interested in the widget business? So you replace the word widget. Now, there's a secret in regards to get people interested in what you have to say. And those are 3 words. I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, Marcus. How did you ever get interested in podcasts?
I'm not telling you nothing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But you see,
That's good. That's a strong, compelling.
well, when I introduced myself, I said, "I'm dobro jutro, jestem Jean-Jacques Kakeste." So I learned the Serbo-Croat introduction, and then my interpreter then continued on. And then it's like, well, I got to break the ice. I'm just curious. And then he stopped. He looked at me. How did you ever get interested in politics? See, if you ask that question, the right time, the right place, the right moment, people will talk for 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes nonstop. But not this guy. He talked for 45 minutes nonstop with one question.
So he
Like
opened up like a
he
book.
kept on going and going and going. And it's like, wait a minute, you're just supposed to talk for 10 minutes, not 45 minutes. Like, but I didn't feel compelled to correct him because the more he was talking, the more he was revealing his preferred communication style. The first thing he said to me was, well, I am an educated man. Who says that? Well, in that culture, education is here. You should respect me because I have an education. I'm not here. I'm here. He wants to be edified. He wants to be respected because he has an education. But throughout all our conversation, he was always in charge.
Does that mean he saw you as inferior to him?
No, he wanted the positioning, and he wanted to use, because I'm a published author.
Yes, sir.
But I first got published in Bosnia. That person published my cover story in the local newspaper and told everyone in the newspaper where I lived, where the safe house was.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like, and I still got the paper. I'm like, rock star. So, okay, but the thing is, what he put in the paper is exactly how we introduced ourselves in regards to our role, our cover story, word for word. So, I mean, that place is bugged probably because there was nobody taking notes. And I doubt that he remembered everything. Now we had to evaluate. Well, okay, are you burnt, or why did he do that? He's not the real mayor. We branded him as the self-declared mayor of Mostar. In the local paper, it indicated that NATO talks to him and not to Prescolo, the real mayor. It was more of a positioning that NATO talks to him, not the mayor. So there was a status, as in I got branded hardliners. So the federation is called Bosnia-Herzegovina. His group was Herzeg Bosnia. They wanted to separate from the federation. And for some reason, he thought, well, because I'm French and I'm Canadian and I want to separate from Canada, that I understood their situation, and then I will speak to my general on their behalf. They basically created the link for me, as in, you understand us. You want to separate. I never said that I wanted to separate from Canada. I'm French Canadian, but that doesn't mean that I was born and raised in Quebec, the French province. I was born in the Ontario province, an Anglophone province, but I live in Northern Ontario, which is a French village. I didn't feel compelled to correct him because he's the one that created the connection.
He created the narrative.
Well, in business, in every interaction that you're going to have in business, you're going to complete or compete with that interaction. You're going to complete or compete. Two high strong personas are going to compete. Who's going to be in charge? Now, I'm French, and I'm like, as I'm writing the words in English, I'm like, complete and compete. It's almost the same letters, except one has the letter L in it. So here's how my brain works. I wonder what's the L factor in connecting with people. Well, until you can find a common link, a common like, a common love, no connection.
I want to ask. I want to stay on the topic of questions. We have a question from our audience. Crystal Thompson asks, "Are the movies on spies similar? Are spies paid very well?"
Paid very well?
Yes.
You make more once you leave. Yeah.
How?
You will never be a millionaire working for the government.
They don't have a pension, 401k. I mean, bonuses.
Oh, you may be paid, $100K a year plus expenses. You may have money aside, but do you actually see CIA agents, multi-millionaires working for the government?
No.
You see them after. Too. Oh goodness.
You see them when they leave. You see them when they leave because they become a consultant. Because there's a lot of good operatives out there. And when they see that they can't stay in the system, when you're in the system, you want to go up the chain of command. Now you've got to abide by the chain of command. And you may not agree with the leadership. And it may be poor leadership. And it's like, that's not right what you're doing. But you're stuck in that system. And if you want to stay in that system, you have to abide by that system. And it's tainted. And it's just hard. I left because I kept on getting my hands tied up in regards to things that I wanted to do and invest in and make the system better. But it's not in the book. How can you charge us if it's not in the book? Like all the whining. Oh my gosh. Now I do more outside as a sole entrepreneur for the Canadian government than when I was in uniform for the Canadian government. And it's the same thing in the States. You can diversify, you can invest, you can become a speaker, you can generate, you can monetize your message as in your experience. You're still bound by the Secrecy Act. Once you got a top secret clearance, you're still you can't discuss or talk about all the gadgets that exist or the technology that's used. But there's so many authors in that area. Now, if you want to learn in regards to that profession, that whole intelligence community, there's a lot of documentaries of real life case or espionage that are more real. The realism is cleaner than what we see in regards to the James Bond series or the Mission Impossible.
I love those series.
Yes, they're entertaining. And they never have a problem clearing customs. And they never have a problem of traveling from country to country. And nobody seems to know when they arrive. Oh my gosh.
That sounds like the perfect life. Sir, I have a question. that I heard from a friend, and they wanted to know, what advice would you give to someone about becoming a spy? If I want, do I just apply on, Indeeds.com or Monster.com or LinkedIn? How do I become, if that, well, not me, but that person wanted to become a spy, how would they go about doing that? And what skills you mentioned? There, you have a unique skill set, the entrepreneurial back desire. You had skills. What skills can get someone in the door?
Yeah, there's many skill sets that will get you through the door. If you're a linguist, if you speak more than one language, 2 or 3, that can get you in the door. There are many areas of specialization. There's a lot of the different evaluation or testings that you're going to go through to see where you can fit within the intelligence community, because it's huge. It's huge in regards to, some are very good at breaking codes, right? So that's more of an analyst perspective. Some are very good at the interpersonal skill sets. So, okay, well, that's more on the sales side of things, because they're very good at thinking on their feet. Some, the best are just Joe Schmuckatelli, as in, oh my gosh, they're so reserved. They're the nicest people in the world. Complete strangers, confess to them. That's a certain persona. So for me, because I've studied in the model of human behavior, the 4 temperament model of human behavior was designed by Marsden, or the methodology came from Marsden, where you fit into 4 main traits. So we have 4 main traits. So if you tend to be a little bit more outgoing or reserved, you do have a preference. For me, I prefer an environment that's more outgoing, fast-paced. My spouse, my wife, my business partner prefers an environment that's more reserved. One is not better or worse. It's just different. So I have my preference. She has her preference. Same thing with my son. Same thing with my daughter. Then for me, when I get up in the morning, I think about all the things I need to do today. So I'm more on the task side of life. But my wife, she thinks of all the people that she's going to meet throughout her day. She's more on the people side. So again, it's just different. So if I'm more outgoing and task oriented, I do fit a certain quadrant. That's the D persona, the direct, demanding, decisive, determined doer. If you're more outgoing with people oriented, that's the I persona, inspiring, influencing, inducing. That's my daughter. If you're more reserved and people oriented, well, that's the supportive style blend. They're the nicest people you're going to come across. They're supportive, sweet, shy. They are the super glue of any organization. And then if you're still reserved and task oriented, well, you fit more into the C persona, and they are known as the cautious, calculating, conscientious. So we all have these traits in us to a lesser or greater degree. Once you know yourself, your self-awareness, because I'm a D-C style blend. So that D and that C, I'm a double dose of task. So I just see everything as a task. Eating is a task. Going to the movies is a task. Going on vacation is a task. Getting married is a task. Everything is a task. Because I want to have kids. Well, before I have kids, I have to get married. Before I get married, I should be dating someone. Everything is a task. It's sad, but that's just my model of the world. But if you're going to be evaluated with your people skills, well, guess what? They're all over here, and those are my lowest traits. So within that industry, based on your wiring, is to find where we can put you in the right bus, and then in that bus to put you in the right seat in the bus for the career path. So our company does this now. We do role assessments for people. We do behavioral-based onboarding programs so that the retention level is higher. Research indicates that after 90 days, 30% of your new hires are looking for an exit strategy. That costs a lot of anguish for business owners in regards to this. You will often find yourself at a disadvantage in business or in personal life if you don't have a model to make sense. So within the community of the intelligence, there's a lot of different personas that fit to a specific requirement, a specific need for the intelligence. So for your friend that's interested, apply. Oh my gosh, they are looking for people. Oh, you have a passion to travel. They'll find your skill set and they'll see if there's opening in this certain area, and then they will provide you all the skill sets and the training. So if you're interested, guess what? Apply. And when you do get that interview, you better be honest and tell the truth. Have you ever smoked the weed? You better tell them.
You better tell them.
It's like
Is
Were
your
you-
is it a lie detector test?
Oh, I've gone through a polygraph. You talk about being documented. That day, I did a polygraph in the morning, and then I had a photo shoot in the afternoon. I mean, I was documented inside and out, and you can't fool the polygraph.
You can't beat. You weren't trained to beat the polygraph.
No, well, you see, you have all these things that you can do, right? You can fool the polygrapher, but
Okay.
not the machine. The machine
Mhm.
just reads you. The machine just reads you. So there's no like surprise. Like when I went through the polygraph, we had it all scripted in the sense of, okay, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do 2 rounds, and if it stays in the same bell curve, fantastic. If it doesn't, then we have to do a 3rd round. You have to answer with yes or no. And then it's like, is this the ace of heart? Like he showed me the card, the ace of heart. Yes. Now he's looking at, when I'm telling the truth, how I spike. Is this the no? Now he knows where the no's are. Like he's looking for the what's normal, what's not. And then he would ask questions. All you have to do is just stay calm, say yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no. Now, is today the 20th of March, 2024?
Yes.
Yes. Well, technically, in Australia, it's the 21st. If you have that thought, you just spike.
Oh.
So those who are going over, as in reflecting too much in the question, often don't pass because you'll spike, because you're over analyzing the question. You just go yes, no, yes, no. So the first series, not a problem, perfect. The second series, the last question, I paused, and he went, "Oh, you're doing so good," and I'm like,
You blew,
"No," because I was
and
trying to
that's
relax,
and
and I'm
that's
like,
that release. That's the release you mentioned earlier
and
that we all
it
have
went
to have.
over. So if he had these 2 lines, well, it went over that. We had to redo it because he has to have 2 out of 3 with the same results, and then you could say, not a problem. You can keep your TS, your top secret clearance. So it's not foolproof, but they do rely on it, as in it's just an instrument. But can you use it in the courtroom? It doesn't sway. It adds. It's like, oh, you passed a polygraph. Okay, great. But does that mean that you're no? It's just that's a nice to have. But there's, if you put a thumbtack in your shoes, and every time you ask a question, you push the thumbtack with your toe, it sends a little pain.
Right.
Like there's little things, as in how you can trick it, but it's the interpretation.
Mm.
The polygrapher is just reading the interpretation, and some, he says, I can't tell because they're everywhere. They're not readable because it's everywhere.
You're
So
spiking on every question, even the truth or the
yeah,
lie.
so it's there. It has a purpose. Is it 100% accurate? Probably not. It's still a tool that's used because it's nerve-wracking when you have all these instruments. Marsden, so the inventor of the 4 temperament model of human behavior, the DISC model, is William Moulton Marsden. That's his claim to fame. His second claim to fame, he is the pioneer of the polygraph. So what goes around your check for the breathing, he's the first one that came up with this. So he's the godfather, if you wish, of the polygraph. Now you have sweat indicators. You have so many sensors on you, and you do
My
have the
friend,
one.
my friend heard there's one where they put it on your penis, and they.
Well, I didn't experience that.
Okay, just my friend. My friend was okay. Got it.
Now, pedophiles, maybe that's a different type of testing to
So
see if there's.
I need a new friend.
Well, I'm not aware of it.
Right.
I didn't experience this because of the type of clearance that they were looking for at that time. But it's quite of an experience to go through a polygraph. Yeah, and that day, that photo shoot, I was done. I mean, I had a migraine. I'm like, thank you very much.
Would you prefer the harsh to the polygraph?
Oh, I'd take the polygraph.
You take the polygraph over you could take you said you did that for 3 rounds. I mean, 9 minutes of someone yelling at you.
Yeah, no, but the harsh is hard.
Wow.
Because
Because
you don't control the environment. See, here's the thing. So we experience the harsh, not a problem. Everybody experienced the harsh. We go back, we get debriefed, then we learn the mechanics. Cool. Then we had to do the harsh.
To someone else.
They put a figure eight, they call it a figure 11. You know, when you're on the target range, on a firing range, you have that little silhouette of a
Yes, sir.
soldier. So they put that there, and you're supposed to yell at that thing for 9 minutes nonstop. Go.
I could do that.
Well, I was done in 15 seconds.
Wow.
I had no more words to use because I went French. Now in French, I can go. Watch out. Because it's just so much I can be mad in English, but in French, oh my gosh. So everything that I hated about people or a bad date or a bully or whatnot, you became that person. You just projected that and you just went really, really aggressive and you didn't stop. It will tire you so much because it's not a physical so much as a mental. You get mentally tired because you're always thinking, always reflecting, always coming up with a new way of doing things or switching it.
So
And there's a lot
you're
more
doing the
thinking.
harsh, but you're never getting physical with the person. You're not putting hands on them.
Oh no! Well, we were trained not to, as in that was the Geneva Code of Convention. That's the approach that we were using. But guess what? All the bad guys won't follow that. They'll take a drill to your knee, no problem. And when you have a drill going through your knee, guess what? See, in today,
I'll tell you
you're
everything.
supposed to release as just enough to stay alive, just enough to stay alive. Whatever it is for you to stay alive, just stay alive. Just resist as much as you can to stay alive. If you had access to security codes or all of that's been changed within the time that you've been captured, the mission has changed. So in case you get compromised and you talk and you spill the beans with everything,
It's no
so
longer valid.
that would take care of it. The next thing is that you need to stay alive. So you resist. You know, I cannot answer that question, and then whatever is required for you to just to stay alive.
The
So
bare
that
minimum.
yeah, well, different organization will teach it differently. So I was taught with the British system, and it's past my time in regards to. It's been several years now, and the way that we do things, the special forces that you have in the States and that we have up in Canada, they're really good. The SEAL teams, they're really good at what they do. JTF2, the Joint Task Force, the Canadian version,
They have we have
they're,
a
they're,
they
they're
have their
good.
own things. We have another
Oh,
question from the audience if you're open to it, Mr. Brun. Um,
yep.
she asked CJ asked a question. Don't they have technology that can interpret the mind and steal the answers that they want from you
Oh.
without having to ask you? So I'm thinking not even need a polygraph. I can link directly to your brain. Is there any kind of technology out there for that in the espionage world?
I'm more familiar with drugs that
Psychedelics.
yeah, drugs that because not then you don't have that control. But the mind connected to a computer, it's not my area of
Yes,
expertise,
sir.
but I am aware of the different types of drugs that
Truth
can
serum.
get you. Yeah, the truth. Well, yeah, they would call them the truth serums. I think that's more prevalent. There's a dark side of all of this area, as in humanity. We can go really dark and really harm and destroy, whitewash people with this. So, like in Canada, if you are a trained interrogator, you can't do an interrogation unless you have an umpire, a referee. An umpire is there to make sure that it's just done in training. There's a protocol of how we do things. When we did a session up in Fort Drum, so as interrogators, it's like, oh wow, Fort Drum, they got all the kits. My gosh, and they had a divisional size POW cage, and we were going to do it with linguists. So we had Spanish role players. So they're all in the military. They all speak Spanish, and all the interrogation is going to be done in English. But all of the role players are not going to talk English. They're just going to be talking in Spanish. So it was to force you to work with an interpreter. Great. And we as Canadians, woohoo, toys. All right. Like you in the States, you've got resources. When they built that division size POW cage, man, they had Humvees in every corner. They had the barbed wire. They had the fence. They had the 50 caliber guns on there. They had the, like, we don't have that as in, well, pretend, but you had that. And it's like, woohoo, we, at the end, my corporal was running the POW cage. I was running the character players, role playing them and scripting them because we get the chance to play, and it's like, go ahead. And we just had a fun because we get a chance to play now. So we don't have so much of the toys. Well, back then, so much of the toys, the kits, the Gucci kits. And then they asked me to do a demonstration of an interrogation. Oh, okay. Well, first it has to be scripted. I need a Canadian referee or umpire and an American referee. And we're going to be scripting this because I don't want to get into trouble, because we were banned after Somalia of running interrogations, because it's the intelligence branch that have the responsibility of running interrogations. And in Somalia, there were infantry soldiers that did an interrogation, more of a torture.
Took it too far.
Yes, because that young man died, as in passed away, as in it was the airborne that was there in Somalia, and it was just a dark time, and it was not necessarily. There's a way of doing this. So they went with the war movies, and they captured somebody that was trying to steal, and they just took it too far. And then it lost a lot of, it hurt the military, the Canadian military. It hurt the airborne because of the image, because now the politician had to disband that organization. So it was supposed to be done. If you're going to do an interrogation, you have certified interrogators. They come from the intelligence community. That's where your interrogators are found. So there's misuse, and it can turn. So because we were underneath that mandate, I needed the referee or the umpire, and we scripted. And we're going to do good cop, bad cop. Okay, I'm going to be the bad, and then I had a female interrogator, and you're going to be the mother approach, as in it's not going to work with me. They're going to push back, but then you're going to come in with the soft approach. And oh, by the way, I had 2 police officers, the MP, military police, bigger than me. Like, they were like huge. And I scripted with them. I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go with English. I'm going to say to that person that he hasn't been properly screened. I'm going to strip them naked. And they're not accustomed to this. So when I go French, when I turn French, I'm about to hit him. When I go French, when I go like a very harsh, and I'm switching, and you can't understand me, and you see me cock, as in I'm about to whack him, you better stop me. Because if you don't stop me, I'm going to hit him. If I hit him, it's your fault. Do you understand me? And then the MP is like, well,
you understood.
And I just go at it and say, you haven't properly. And then he started taking off his clothes. Then the American referee said, it's done. Like, because the colonel of the base was there, and the colonel of the intelligence branch was there. And then it's like, oh my gosh, the second highest ranking officer was in the tent looking at the interrogation. And I just wanted to go real. Right. And the gentleman kept his pants, and we had to pretend that he was. Well, it's like, oh my gosh, it's not the same. It would have really he would have really just embarrassed that person, and he would really feel compelled then to talk to the female interrogator.
Is that the concept with stripping someone naked? Is that the mind trying to break someone?
To embarrass you? Yeah, just to embarrass you. And you have all these people. Now he didn't know, but there was going to be a whole group watching, observing this in the tent at the same time. So he's just like looking everywhere, right? As I'm screaming, it's being interpreted, like translated. And then it's just like, he's just looking everywhere, look at me, and is screaming at him. And then when I went French, my 2 feet went up in the air. The 2 MPs, they just grabbed me. They just grabbed me. And then the female interrogator came in my face, said, "You got the wrong guy. And that's all scripted, as in she was going to go and calm everything down. And then I go, and then the guy's looking everywhere. Let's go, let's start back. And she calms everything down. And then we get the person to sit. And then because he was feeling safer with one, his script was that he would release information at that point. So everyone, so you just get a chance to practice, but you have to have the right approach in this. So it's a well orchestrated procedure. It's not something that just go off the cuff, John Wayne, and we're going to have an interrogation, because you can really do some damage in regards to that field.
Did you ever feel like, were you in a relationship, married while being a spy, and how did that lifestyle affect you?
Yeah. So
either wanting to have a family or protecting your family.
Yeah, I was married. Well, I'm saying, like this in May, we'll be celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've been happily married for 33 years, but married for 35 years. I was deployed for over 2 years. Like I wasn't at home with all of these different deployments.
I was miserable.
Yeah. So, but yes, as in, she was aware of the career path of what when I went.
She knew you were an intelligence officer.
Yes. So people will refer to us as spies, and I understand that. We don't see ourselves as spies. We see ourselves as an intelligence operator, an intelligence analyst, an intelligence officer. It's a career path. It has a military MOC. It has a certain designation. You have a role. You're going to be an analyst. You're going to do this. You're going to be an intelligence officer. You're going to do this. It's a job. It's just a job with a classification on the information that you have. We tend to label what we don't understand. So the spy comes in, and it's like, oh, he's a former spy. Oh, he's a retired spy, and that's fine. That's cool. It's just a way. We don't take ourselves. I don't take myself so seriously in regards to. I was within that. It was just a job, and I did my job very, very well.
How'd your wife take it?
So,
go ahead.
It was funny with her because, do you remember the movie Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Curtis? True Lies. The film was True Lies. Like Arnold was playing a character, like a CIA agent.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's Jamie Lee. Is it Jamie Lee or Jamie Curtis?
The cast is made up of.
So there was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there was Roseanne.
Yeah,
Donaldson.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
So
she was Helen.
So in that, he was a CIA, but his wife didn't know. And when I came back from Bosnia, because you make colleagues, as in other operatives from different nationalities, because we have 5 to 7 different nationalities at the safe house. And then it's like, oh, they're visiting. They're in Canada. Hey, if you're ever in downtown, you have a place to stay. So the phone would ring and say, hey, can I speak with JJ? Sorry, there's no JJ here. Click. And then the phone would ring again, and they would ask for JJ. And my wife would answer, no, I'm sorry, you got the wrong number. Click. And then it's like over and over. And then at one point, during the week, Judy goes, I don't know. Somebody must have had the JJ as a phone number, because there's a lot of people have been calling and asking for JJ. And I'm like, oh, well, that's me. And she looks at me. JJ? Man, my name is Jean. Jacques is my godfather. Joseph, well, I was baptized in a Roman Catholic church, so you're going to have the word Joseph attached to your name. So I have Jean-Jacques Joseph Brun, but people knew me as a working name as JJ. And so I just said, no, well. And then she had just saw that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now she was looking at me differently. I said, what exactly did you do in Bosnia?
So I do have a question too as well. With you working in that field, the tactics that you're learning in that field, does that ever carry over at home with between you and your spouse? Even, self-consciously, whether you know it or not, does it ever, pretty much get combined at home?
No, the work has to stay at work. For me, if you're having a bad day, you need to talk it out with people in the office. You need to have your confidant, as in, I had a person that whatever I was going through, if I wanted just to get it off out of my chest, just have that conversation. It needs to go there so that you don't bring it home, so that you can be fully engaged. Like when I came back from Bosnia, it's like it was hard to get back into the lifestyle because I was no longer there. And you're 6 months away, and your son hasn't seen you for 6 months. He's been asking for you for 6 months. Your wife is running the show, everything, budget, running the household, and now you're coming in and you're taking control over. There's an adjustment. It's not very easy. When I came back from my first operational tour, it took me about a month to calm down and to not be so aggressive, because
did you ever develop that feeling of like looking over your shoulder, second nature, and had to change from that?
You can get very paranoid in this career path, that everyone's looking at you, and see,
is that
it's
a bad thing?
Well, it's actually good having anxiety, because that means your senses are actually all alert and you can respond and react accordingly. So it's not a bad thing to have a high state of anxiety when you're getting into a certain situation, and trust your gut feeling. Your training will take care of you. There's a British colleague that because the safe house wasn't really safe, it was like there was one way in, one way out. We had
what makes it a safe house? Why call it a
well,
safe
it's
house?
not fenced in. We weren't fenced in, as in we weren't protected. We didn't have, it wasn't gated. It was we were basically we're living in Medjugorje, which is a religious site in Mostar. Like Mostar, Medjugorje is about like 20 minutes away up in the mountains, and it was relatively safe during the war. And the claim to fame of Medjugorje was that the Virgin Mary had appeared to three girls on top of a mountain. So the pilgrimage and there's a lot more people that would go there. But all the bad guys, that's where they would raise their family, because it was a safe place to raise. So we would play in downtown Mostar, chasing them. And then at night, you're in the coffee shop, and then you see Guido, or you see, Mio Brajkovic, or you see Poplov. Well, we'll get you tomorrow. So it's surreal in a sense of the area. And you have to adapt, as in after a war, it's the black market that runs the economy. And you have to be aware of that. And there's places to eat. And the first time that I got there, when somebody was situational awareness, so my replacement was driving me around and telling me where are the safe places, safe areas. And I thought, okay, safe, I'm not going to be shot at. No, food. Yeah, it's safe to eat here. It's not safe to eat there. There's a team that ate there, and they were down with food poisoning because in the kitchen they don't prepare things. So this place is safe and this place is not safe. So you just to get sensitized to the whole area. And then you start seeing a pattern. If there was a coffee shop and it started with the name A, the letter A, well, that belonged to a certain group of people, the mafioso that own those. If you went to a coffee shop and they had marble floors, that belonged to a certain group. And normally the owner or the oldest gentleman, they would be there. So when you go in, you just pay respect, right?
Like money? Like, is that money?
No, or you just pay respect, as in dobro jutro, dobro jutro, dobadan. It's just a little greeting, a little recognition. Thank you. because you don't know what you're going to be served.
I feel like we're
Ooh.
talking in code. Served as in pasta and
Food.
linguine, or
Yeah.
served as in like
Serve as in food. Yeah.
intelligence.
No, serve as in food. So those restaurants that you would meet people,
Oh,
are these restaurants safe to eat? As in, if you eat the calamari, if you eat the seafood, the oysters, are you going to be sick the next day?
okay. Okay.
On Fridays, it's always mixed grill. Whatever's left over, they're putting it on the grill. They're grilling it. That's so. If you ask for a mixed grill, guess what? I've never seen so many different types of sausage. But my partner said you always have to have medicine. You have an ounce and a half of medicine every day. You'll never be sick during your tour. And I'm like, medicine?
Oh.
And he was referring to their version of their moonshine, rakia. And you could actually light it. It had a nice blue, like that's how much alcohol they had in that shot.
I should not.
Fasting.
I should not be
Fasting.
drinking that at all.
Well, you would have that. It took me 2 weeks to get over the buzz. Like every day you would have that. So it would kill everything inside
Okay.
that was not well processed. And it helped you to maintain a healthy diet. So he would always take an ounce and a half. So I was like, okay, start doing that. But I'm like, one shot and I had a buzz right off the bat. And it took me about 2 weeks for my body to get accustomed to that type of alcohol in
That
there.
level.
It's fascinating because there's certain culture that will evaluate you by how much you eat and how much you drink. Because if you don't eat, don't drink, we don't talk to you.
You're insulting.
you
You're
eat with
insulting
us,
us.
If you eat and drink with us, if you break bread and you really go, then
one
you will
of
be
us.
invited to the next one. And that's how. So there's different ways of building relationships with them. And then if you're in with them, everyone wants to talk, and they will tell you, "I do what you do." Oh, so what do you do? And then they, because they want you to be their friends, and they want to be a somebody.
Did you ever have to wear a disguise, like a fake nose or a
not allowed.
raincoat? Not allowed?
No, because because this was the first, and this was discrete operations. It was in uniform, and you could not conceal your weapon. Your weapon has to be seen. So you had a holster on your leg, so people could see that you had your pistol. You had your other places. You need to have long rifles. But when I traveled with three things all the time. I had a little bag, and in that bag I had a 26 ouncer of
Moonshine.
whiskey.
Yep.
Whiskey, as in for some reason they love CC, the Canadian Club, for some reason. Crown Royal maybe, but over there that was a killer. If you had a bottle of CC of Canadian Club, so I had a 26 ouncer. I always had mini Colts cigars.
Okay.
And I always had a bag of chocolate or candy, because that would get me away, get me out of a lot of trouble. So your vehicle would attract a lot of kids, and they're hungry and they see you and they're attracted and they come. But when you got to go, you don't want to run over the kids. So you would take out a bag and you would show them the chocolate or the candy, caramela, caramela. And they would look at you, and then you would just throw it out the window off the side.
I'm sorry.
Move, and then I would gun it. If you get stopped,
I'm throwing alcohol.
Well, the alcohol will help in regards to a certain situation where you either you give it as a gift, just a gesture of goodwill. The cigars makes it different than everybody has cigarettes, but a little Colt cigar with that little tip, oh, that's different. And if you hit a barricade, right, and then you come out and they're there, you light one for you light one for your counterpart, and then get your linguist and you start having a conversation, and they would appreciate being treated like a somebody, because it's no longer like you need to be able to build a relationship or establish a connection, find a common link, find a common like, find a common love. Common link or a common like, maybe it's a cigar, and that will provide an opportunity to engage into a conversation. Use the 10 most effective ice-breaking questions. I'm just curious. 3 words. Well, you know how. 4 words. Well, you know how it's hard to discern what's going on around here. Oh yeah. Would it be okay? Would it be okay if we meet for lunch, break bread, and to get a sense of what's happening, you book a meeting from a meeting. So you could use the same approach in business.
Right.
It's the 3, 4, 5 approach. If you download the 10 most effective ice-breaking question, the methodology is also inside of it. And it's just to ask someone, I'm just curious. You know how we're trying to generate more leads or more business? Yeah. Would it be okay if I send you more information on how we've been able to succeed in this area? Now you're invited to the conversation. Unsolicited advice is just unsolicited. So it's your ability to interact, have very powerful question that will lead to a conversation. The conversation you will discern, you'll decode their preferred communication style, and then from there you'll be able to build a relationship, professional or personal, and utilize the rapport ladder.
I feel like life is really hard, and the skill that you have to fight back against interrogation would be valuable to life in business, personal and business. Is what is something that you can give the audience like as a skill set to sit? Cause I feel like that'd be useful in an interview. You know,
Oh
hey,
yeah. Yep.
this song in your head, play a song in your head. What's a skill set that you learned that could help like in that regard? I feel like life is an entire interrogation. People are always questioning you and wanting
Well,
to get in your
I
head.
would agree, Marcus, that life is a series of. There's a program that I used to teach. Um, it's enhanced investigative interviewing technique. So it deals with the field of interviewing, debriefing, and elicitation. It's IDE training, interviewing, debriefing, and elicitation. Life is a series of interviews, an exchange of information, debriefing you on your past experience, eliciting information that you should not know that I'm eliciting from. An interrogation goes into another lane. But throughout your day-to-day interaction, you will always be interacting, interviewing someone, debriefing someone, or eliciting from someone so that you can make an informed decision if this is the right person to work with. So you need to have interpersonal skill set. You really need to utilize a model. There's over 100 models out there. There's the bird model. There's the animal model. There's Neo, the Strength Finder, Enneagram, Myers Briggs. There's just so many models. Pick one, but master it. Put in the time and the effort. The bird model will put you in 4 quadrants. Okay, 4 categories. It does tend to label, categorize, or pigeonhole. You're an eagle? Like, yeah, I'm an eagle. Yeah. You're a parakeet? Probably wants a cracker. You're a dove? Ooh. Or you're an owl? Well, that's nice. Everyone wants to be an owl.
Right.
Nay, nay. See, the owl has a very negative connotation in certain cultures. Like in Lebanon, owl is not seen as wisdom. It has a very negative connotation. So that's a danger of using animals because you have your own definition of what that animal has been characterized as. The one that I use in psychology is known as the wellness model. It doesn't look at deficiencies. It looks at the traits under control and the traits pushed to the extreme, out of control, how it manifests itself. It's very positive. So I would say a skill set that you want to acquire as soon as possible is the ability to read people. And that is by learning the 4 temperament model of human behavior. You want a free course on it? It's on our website. It's free.
Absolutely.
You can go there and start learning. Then, if you like this, take an audit, an assessment, self-assessment. It will tell you the level of intensities of the DIS and C traits so that you can protect yourself from yourself. Because every persona, like every time you go someplace, you put a mask on. You become a persona. Every time a contact handler goes into an environment, we're putting a mask on. We're putting a persona on. It's how we perceive we need to be in order to be successful in that environment. I just adopt a different persona. Now, that self-declared mayor of Mostar, when I started asking him questions, I soon realized that people have a preference in regards to how you're going to communicate with them. So this is the 4 legal F words you can use to better connect with people. If I know that you're more outgoing and task oriented, that's that D quadrant. You will appreciate if I can communicate with you in a firm matter. Firm. Whoops, what's over there? Firm. Over here, that will be fun. Over here, that will be friendly. And over here, that would be factual. So by discerning one's preferred communication style, I know that I can communicate a business opportunity in a firm matter, in a fun matter, in a friendly matter, or in a very factual manner when connecting with people matters. It's by decoding one's preferred communication style. If I was to ask you, Marcus, right now, you don't have to be aware, like we're just going to have some fun here. You can change your mind over supper. I know you're cooking, right? If you had to choose right now, Marcus, and you can be 51% one side and 49% on the other side, do you prefer working in an environment that's more outgoing, or do you prefer working in an environment that's more reserved? What's your
Reserve.
preference?
Reserve.
You prefer, your preference is to work in an environment that's more reserved. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So from there, now I have two choices: task or people. So when you get up in the morning, do you think about all the things you need to do today? Or do you think about all the people you're going to meet throughout your day?
I think about all the things I need to do today.
Okay. So that represents the C quadrant: cautious, calculating, conscientious. Yeah, as in measure twice, cut once. That's our start point. I'm not saying that you are a C. I'm saying that you project that trait. So if I know that you're strong in that quadrant, I know that the basic needs, like a fish needs water to live, you will need quality answers, excellence, and value. Non-negotiable. If you're going to stack boxes with excellence. See, that's not where my son is there. And he would have questions after questions after. Why is the word abbreviation so long?
Is he a Virgo? Is your son a Virgo?
No, what we're not gonna do is do that.
Look at that. We're not going to do that.
We're not gonna do that.
See, for me,
Sagittarius.
that D persona, right? They need choices, challenges, and control, or else it's called turnover. But the I persona, they need recognition, they need approval, they need popularity. And then the S, oh my gosh, they need sincere appreciation, reassurance, and a sense of security. See, with a model like this, it's a force multiplier. It multiplies your capabilities of saying the same thing in 4 different ways. So if I'm looking at someone, I'm discerning the pace perspective, the priority perspective, okay, then I'll go either firm, fun, friendly, or factual.
On how to approach me.
Yes, absolutely, because you cannot not communicate. Now, I know that the research indicates that we don't have just one trait that we tend to operate in. We tend to borrow 2 or 3, but you tend to flex. So if I knew that you're very strong in that C quadrant, the tendency is that it could be a C S style blend or a C D style blend. Cautious, supportive style blend, or the cautious, direct style blend. We tend to borrow from others or influenced by secondary traits. It's just a tendencies that as we're interacting, as we're talking, as we're going, you will communicate your preferred communication style. And then I'm like, okay, I think I have a start point. Now, when you don't know it, go S. It's the largest group of the general population. Just be the nicest, friendliest person you can be. And when it doesn't fit, when you know that it doesn't fit in that area, then it's like, okay, they're asking a lot of questions. Oh, probably projecting some C traits. Oh, smiling, a lot of stories. Oh, projecting some I traits here. Not a problem. If it doesn't fit anywhere, I wonder if it's D. Can I be bottom line with you? Oh, please do. Because that's their preferred communication style. Short and sweet to the point. So if there's one thing to learn, I wish I'd had learned this model in the high school, understanding my strengths, because your strengths will carry you in life.
Yes, sir.
You're not here by accident. Have you ever seen one of these?
A pencil?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. A number 2 pencil.
Yeah. That's a number 2 pencil. Yeah. From Amazon. Yeah. There's 5 things we can learn from this pencil.
What's
5
that?
skill sets. See, This is known as the parable of the pencil. The manufacturer, the creator, the inventor of this pencil says, before you go out, there's 5 things you must learn before you go. Number 1, before you can be usable in your life as a pencil, you must first be willing to be placed into somebody else's hand. You can't be usable as a pencil unless you're willing to be placed into somebody else's hand. Number 2, in your life as a pencil, you're going to go through some sharpening. It's going to hurt. Let me encourage you, you'll be better because of the sharpening in your life. Yes, sir. As a pencil. Every sharpening will add more value. Number 3, you're going to make mistakes in your life as a pencil. I know. That's why I placed an eraser at the end.
That's true.
Number 4, your true core value is not found on the outside. It's not your shape, it's not your color, it's not your size. It's what I place inside of you. Your value is found on the inside, not on the outside. And number 5, and the most important one, the one that you should never, 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 never forget, is that you were designed, created, and invented for one thing and one thing only. And that's to leave your mark on every surface you come in contact with.
So, sorry.
Are you teachable? Number 1, are you teachable? Number 2, are you willing to go through some character building moments? Because they'll make you better. Can you give yourself the right to start over with the information you have today? Do you understand your true core value, what you have inside, the gift that you have inside that the world needs? And remember, you're not here by accident. You're here to make a difference in people's lives. The more you invest in other people's life, the more it will add value to your life. And you'll have a life-driven purpose.
I love
that.
In
business or in your personal life. That's the parable of the pencil.
You've done it numerous times throughout the show, Mr. Brun. Tell us how we can connect with you. How can we get a hold of you? How can we learn more about the Retired Spy?
It's as simple as going to theretiredspy.com.
Love it.
And from there, you'll see all of the upcoming events. You'll see some free resources. And if you wanted to book a complimentary 30-minute call, you can also click and see my calendar, and we can have some quality time talking about what's keeping you up at night.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Sir, I got exactly what I was looking for out of this interview. This is epic, and I thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for giving back, teaching us, showing us, and sharing your history. That's huge what you've done, sir. Thank you for giving in this way.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
It's huge. Thank you all. We gotta let him go, y'all. We gotta let him go because I feel like the president is watching this interview right now. We gotta let him go. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was impactful. Sir, you've laid so many nuggets on this episode. You've given so much. One more nugget can you give to the audience, the people out there, to that young boy, that young girl in the audience that they need to change their life with today? You've given a whole ton, but you got one more in the hat.
When communication breaks down, blame the process, not the people. People don't do things to you. They do things to themselves. So when communication breaks down, and it will, blame the process, not the people.
Love it. Love it. Karmea, you got one?
I love this interview. I just want to say this is very interesting. I'm going to take some things into the world myself. So you guys need to just, look, just like he was talking about communication. I'm a big person about communication. The only way we're going to get through it is together. Take your time with each other. Communicate the best that you can, because we're not perfect. So step by step.
Hey, and if you ever are visiting the National Capital Region, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, ring me up.
Absolutely.
I'll tour you.
I will take you on that. I will absolutely take you up on that. That is huge. I've been meaning to go to Canada. You put it out in the air. Thank you all for tuning in to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this was epic. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was insightful. And I hope it provided the value that is provided in my co-host and the Mr. Bruns. This is huge. This is huge. Like I always end every show. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. And always, always take care of business. This is your favorite gentleman. And
Karmea Wells, the unorthodox Southern Belle.
And our epic Mr. JJ, the retired spy, signing off. Love you guys. Bye.